Hello, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Joining me on the show tonight is the one and only Bridgeman. How are you doing, Bridge?
Oh, good evening, Jeff. Good evening, Jeff. How are you doing, pal? And of course, to Big Terry sitting in the background there, helping us out, taking charge and running it. I'm doing very well, thank you, and I hope you're okay yourself.
Yep, I believe Juicy Bear will be joining us a wee bit later. He's just running a wee bit late to join the show. So we will catch up with him when he joins us in, Bridge. A lot happening today, Bridge, but good press conference today by the manager. I don't know if you've managed to hear any of it at all, but we're going to have it just shortly on the show. But I just thought we would have a quick catch up. Obviously, we've got a big game at the weekend against Motherwell. Only another day tomorrow and then match day. So I don't know if you had any thoughts, Bridge, on the Motherwell match on Saturday, what your kind of outlook on it was.
I have to say, and probably there'll be a lot of Rangers fans sitting out there and now. I never ever had I like to go to Fir Park. I never liked it. I've got no great respect for Motherwell. I recognise some of the great players that they brought through, and they've done quite well for themselves. But as years have gone by, I don't think any friendship the two clubs have had has never materialised. It just hasn't happened for us. So I'm not keen on them, but it's a tight place to go, tough place for the fans to go there. And of course, remember they beat us in the playoff the first time to get into the Premier League. So it was kind of difficult for us. But we came in the second time. Good luck to them. They absolutely leathered us at Ibrox 3-1. I think it was 3-1 anyway, and then 3-0 at their place. We were just dreadful. So and I'm hoping that the manager puts out a similar team to give us a bit of continuity, a similar team that's played the last two games, and let's see how we got on for there. The thing is that when we go away, we seem to play a wee bit better. That's what I feel anyway. But that's simply because the teams are opening up. They're expected to come out and take it off us, you know.
Well, that's the big advantage, isn't it, Bridge, is that we have more space to play, especially with the amount of creative players that we've got in the team. I agree with you. Fir Park's always a tight, stuffy game, isn't it? Motherwell always seem to be fired up for it, but in essence that makes in recent times we've been very fortunate here with some cracking results. I mean, Fashion Sakalas springs to mind. I know he finds it as a happy hunting ground there. He's banged in a few goals recently. So it's just about the right attitude, Bridge, isn't it? It's always about attitude and application.
Oh yes, it's no joke, and it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be a very easy game for us, depending on the way we play. If we come out and on the front foot immediately, start passing the ball about a wee bit, get into the game, and take it to them and see how it goes. We should be, as Oxford's like to say, I'll say it in his place. If we play, we win.
Absolutely, Bridge, and that's nothing. In recent weeks, nothing could be further from the truth. And where we have played, we've actually demonstrated a great tempo. And I do agree with you. It's it'd be interesting to see, what the team lineup is, and whether there is that continuity or whether we change it again. I know we'll cover that in the press conference. So if you don't mind, Bridge, get yourself a mute. I think we're going to listen to the first part of Michael Beale's press conference this afternoon.
Michael, it's first we've spoken to you since the Scottish Cup semi-final draw. Could you just have your reaction to coming up against Celtic?
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Obviously, it guarantees 3 games, Rangers Celtic, between now and the end of the season, the last 11 or 12 games, which is, I think, good for us as a squad moving forward.
Yeah, does it give you that opportunity for revenge for that League Cup final, or how do you view that game and the other two as well?
No, listen, I'm one of the more fortunate people in that game, really, because I think that was my first defeat in quite a few. So, listen, it wasn't a nice one, but there's 3 to go between now and the end of the season. We certainly want to show a better face in them games, and we need to. But before then, there's a lot of football to be played. There's 2 more league games, an international break, and then after the first league game on the 8th of April, that's quite a long time until the end of the month. So we just keep improving every day.
there are 9 points between the sides in the league. Of course, you could still make up that gap, but with the games running out, it looks tougher and tougher. Do you feel that, with regards to semi-finals, that could be, the pivotal game of the season, your season hanging on that game?
Well, it's a big game, isn't it, when it comes around? As I say, there's a lot of games between now and then. It's how you arrive into it, which I'm more interested in. We need to make sure that we arrive there in a good place. As I say, we've got a big league game this weekend. The home game's Dundee United before the game away to Celtic, and they're all important. They have been since I've come back in. Our form's been fantastic in the league, certainly our away form. So let's hope we can keep that going against Motherwell, which is the main focus right now, and we'll deal with those games when they come around.
You've won every game away from home so far in the league. What's been the key, do you think, away from home that's allowed your team to perhaps play with a bit more style and attack a bit more?
Well, a lot of clean sheets away from home. There's been a mixed bag in terms of a little bit of everything. There's been some free-flowing football at times. There's been some really good defensive performances as well, where we've used the counter-attack really effectively. So we've managed to find a solution to the problems that we're facing. We go away to Motherwell this weekend. They're in good form, similarly to when we went away to Hearts and Hibs in the last couple of big away games. So I think Stuart's done really well since he's gone in there. They've had an up-pick. He was manager of the month. They didn't play last week, so they've had our eyes on us for a little while now, and we look forward to the game.
The intensity that you played with at Hibs and Hearts, how do you replicate that at home? Is that a summer pre-season of really work and how to break down the low block? Does it just take time?
Yeah, listen, if we weren't creating chances, I'd be more worried, but it was a completely different game that Rafe gave us in terms of problems to solve, and even after we scored the first goal, it didn't change their resolve, if you like. They sort of did stay there. We had 24 shots in the game, 18 corners. So what you could say is, can we be a bit more ruthless in the boxes? But certainly it wasn't a lack of getting into the right areas. In our last away game at Hibs, I think we had 31 shots. So we're certainly not struggling in terms of our output in the final third. Then it's just a matter of our quality, which is something that we're working on for sure.
Michael, have you had a chance to speak with Alfredo Morelos since the reports came out of him having signed a pre-contract?
Yeah, we spoke obviously after the game on, when was it, Sunday, and there's no truth in that. So I was pretty cool about it beforehand anyway, because we have such a strong relationship, and we're both committed to each other until the end of the season, and we'll sit down and have a chat then. And if Alfredo's here and offered a new contract, great. If he moves on and he's our record goal scorer in Europe, we've had a lot of big days together, and he'll get a hug and on he goes. But at this moment in time, we're just focused on the games ahead. There's no truth in the situation with Seville.
Can I just ask you a follow-up to that? Just looking at some of the comments you've made recently in terms of out-of-contract players, Ryan Jack, you said, is a player you'd like to work with moving forward. Speaking about Ryan Kent, he said, you spoke a lot about your relationship with him. He said, look, if he's here, it's because he desperately wants to be here. If he's not here, it's because he doesn't want to be. It suggests in both these cases, we'd want both these players to stay. Mm-hmm. Can you say the same about Alfredo Morelos?
Yeah, I can. I think the big thing is that where do we see the club going moving forward, and who do we want to build around for the next 3 or 4 years? So I need to think, when I'm handing these or making these offers, do I feel that I want to build with someone for the next 3 or 4 years? It's a moment where there's a lot of players out of contract, and therefore there's a lot of salaries coming back in if we wasn't to renew with some of them players, which gives the club a lot of options this summer. I've identified a few players to the club that we're away working on now and doing our scouting. There's almost 2 jobs going on. There's the team now and trying to improve that and continue with the good form and improve the style and identity of every game and every training session. And then behind the scenes, there's working towards what Rangers is going to look like for the 1st of July next year, and we return for pre-season. And so those things, they're big decisions to make. Alfredo's had a huge part of this football club the last few years, contributed really well on the pitch. As I say, as a record goal scorer in Europe, there's certainly only nice things for me to say about him and our relationship. But at the end of the season, there'll be a chance for us to have a conversation whether we continue or not. And that's very open at this moment in time.
Just one more quickie on that, if I can. You've spoken recently about his goals, his assists. What do the figures say in terms of his fitness? What do you see on the training ground?
Listen, it's not so much. There's no real difference in physical output to him and Tony. Obviously, he's a little bit more high speed in terms of what fashion gives us. When you play against at home at Ibrox against some teams, it's more short, sharp movements. In terms of his work ethic's fine. He's got his own program. He goes off and works in the gym as well. I've got to be honest, since I've come back in, Alfredo's been fantastic in all aspects. There's not been any issues whatsoever. I think sometimes people try to force and find one. I think I said last week he scored 7 goals and 5 assists in the time I've been here, and he hasn't played every game. For example, he didn't play the 3 last week, and there was a couple of other games he hasn't played in. So if you look at his goal contribution per game, I think he's probably 1-to-1. So there's nothing in that. I've just got a decision in terms of where I want to take the team in the future, and Alfredo's got a decision on where he sees his long-term future as well. So it's going to be a summer where he's not the only one we're discussing that with, and there's other players in contract that I've had conversations with as well.
You said you spoke to Alfredo, but did he say to you that he wants to stay?
No, we said we're going to concentrate on the rest of the season, stay committed to each other and talk in the summer, and that's fine. I'm happy with that. He reiterated that there's no truth in the Seville situation whatsoever.
Do you still think you can get plenty out of Alfredo, regardless of where his future lies beyond this summer?
Listen, I think that with Alfredo, there's a bit like the team. The team was on a rise for 2 or 3 years and has had a difficult 6 months. And in that, everybody's open for criticism. No one's speaking about the goalkeeper situation when 3 or 4 weeks ago it was the only thing we spoke about, and about injuries, and they're sort of clearing up. Now we're on to Alfredo. So it's never a dull day being the manager of the football club. What I can say is that there's a lot of misconceptions about Alfredo. Every day he comes in, he works hard, he's a good teammate, he's supporting the team, and he reiterated to me that's how he wants it to stay between now and the end of the season. And I assured him that there's nothing that can happen between now and our last game which would change my energy towards him either.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Welcome back, lads. Juicy Bear, you think you've joined us now? How you doing, pal?
Oh, better late than never. The Juicy Bear has arrived. I'm here.
Good to have you on.
Juicy? Everything all right?
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Bridge.
Is everything all right with you?
So just picking up there from the press conference, there's a lot to digest. Obviously, the seemed to be the main talking point there was on Alfredo Morelos, and there's a number of players, as we know, that are out of contract at the end of the season. Juicy, what's your own thoughts on the Alfredo Morelos situation?
It's a good question. Well, something that I've always said on here, guys, is Alfredo has been at this club for quite a long time now. And if he goes in the summer, regardless of whether he was on fabulous form or whether he was down in the dumps, it's very much either or with him, isn't it? He gives us 2 different extremes. I don't think anyone could say that he hasn't been with this club for a lengthy period of time. I know form has been changeable, but if he goes in the summer, Jaffa, I've got no real complaints. He's given good service. He was here from the very early days of being back in the Prem, on the losing side, along with Tav and others, when we had that terrible defeat in Luxembourg. So he's seen it all, hasn't he? From there, up to winning the title and excellent performances from him in Europe. I don't know what the future holds for him. There's talk of Seville, or there could be other clubs. I'm sure there would be other clubs interested in him because he's a quality player when he's on it. If he goes in the summer, he goes with my best wishes. And if he stays, if there's a role for him at the club, we're surely going to have to look at some more forward players anyway in the summer. So if he does stay, hopefully there'll be more talent in and around him to play with and link up with. So, I'm kind of nonplussed, Jaffa, really.
Mm-hmm. Bridgeman, what's your thoughts on the Alfredo Morelos situation?
I think we had a wee count, a poll on here the other night there, possibly Monday night, and I think it was do we think Alfredo Morelos is going to be here next season? And I don't know. I don't think anybody said yes, he would be here. And none of us were too bothered whether he goes or not, to be honest. I would only put a rider on that and say, look, I've been a huge fan of his, like all of us have been when he's been on form. Well, online WhatsApp Rangers radio thing, somebody put something up today, and there's a wee list of all the goals, all Morelos' goals over whatever he's been here, I think. And I was watching through that this afternoon, and my goodness gracious, I saw the guy is playing for us now on the park is probably, it might be ridiculous to say it, but he looks about twice the guy, you know. He looks double the weight as he was then. He was when he was in his tops for us, he was no small and short, but really a powerful man, really powerful man, and slim, a lot slimmer than he is now, you know, and that's he got a bit of pace about him. He picked up nearly all the balls that broke from the goalkeeper out when other players are having shots or headers, and Morelos appeared to be there all the time. And he scored a barrel of the goals, as you know. Still the best record holder in the Europa Cup or Europa League, sorry. So yeah, I think. I don't know whether we should try and keep him, or the manager's going to take care of it in some way or other. But he needs to start showing. I did say this on Monday night at the end. He needs to start showing that he's interested and he's keen to stay at Rangers, because the Rangers fans are fed up with him. A whole load of Rangers fans and lots of guys who, like myself, have loved him and sung his name. We're not going to be singing his name anymore. He's just not doing it. It doesn't appear to be doing it. So this is a situation with us, with Morelos now. Does he want to stay? And if he does, then I'm sure many Rangers fans will demand to see an improvement in how he looks and his attitude on the park. And that may be the key.
I mean, as I'm sure we all read what we, various forums and what have you. And I mean, as far as I understand it, Alfredo was asking for a hefty increase in salary, and I don't know about yourself, Jussie, but on current situation and current form, I don't think he's merited that or anywhere close to it. And if we did offer him a contract, and if Michael Beale feels he needs to offer him or wants to offer him a contract, I just can't. I think it's all, like all these things, it's going to come down to money, isn't it?
Well, he's certainly not playing for a contract right now, is he, Jaffa? Because we've seen it in plenty of players in the past that suddenly their performances pick up, and you think, hang on a second, where's that been? He's been consistently inconsistent again so far this season. So I haven't seen anything yet that is on a game-by-game basis bringing us a level of performance that would suggest, show this guy the money. And I honestly think that from the sort of fairly mild nature of mine and Bridgeman's thoughts on the subject, that we're all just suffering from kind of Morelos fatigue, really. That he's always been a little bit controversial. We love to love him when he's on it, but also the fans get on his back, as Bridge said, when he's not doing it. And I just feel like maybe we just need something else now, Jaffa. No one can say that he hasn't given the service, but last couple of seasons he has come back almost twice the guy he was after the summer enjoyments, and then he spends half a season or more working off and getting back into it. We can't take away, Jaffa, what he's done for us in big matches, crucial games, tight matches, qualifying goals, Legia Warsaw in the 90th minute. These are big boy goals and big boy moments of the match, and he has stepped up in the past. But we can't live off that forever, Jaffa.
No, and I think the key denominator there is exactly what Bridge has just said. It's his own personal fitness battle. Because the Alfredo Morelos, who's looking slim and slender and up front and chasing down every ball, that's the guy that's scoring the goals against Porto at the back post, because he's got the pace to get there. I just don't think Alfredo's going to be capable of scoring those type of goals at this moment in time. And the gamble for us as a club is, do you take that gamble and give him a contract and hope that he can get back there? I'm not so sure. I don't know if it comes down to money, doesn't it? It's always down to money, isn't it, Bridge?
Well, the rumours that you've been hearing about him looking for quite a tidy rise. 2 years ago, he could ask for a tidy rise, and maybe even have got a rise of some description. But I'm sorry, he'd be lucky to retain the contract he's on, money-wise. It really and truly would be. Given his present form and the way he looks, he doesn't look anything like a good professional footballer. Certainly when you see him on one side, all this young lad running about mental, killing people, battering people into submission. And now you see him now and he can't even see these people, he can't catch them, all these things. Still can score a goal if the ball's right on him, he can still score a goal and he can make it look good. But the manager has, not just the manager, the coaching staff and the medical people have got to look at him and say, what is the matter with him? I mean, what is the matter with him? And try, if they want to keep him, they need to help him over the next 10, 12 weeks. And Morelos needs to help himself. 100% he needs to help himself. And all the fans that loved him, and we've got Morelos, and we're talking about 16, 20 million pounds worth of player, and that's going down the drain in the last 2 seasons, maybe a season and a half. He's just not there, and that's going to take some doing by the manager. It'll be a miracle for him.
I think he needs to lay off the caramel wafers now, the iron brew.
By the way, I'm not one to talk. I eat a lot of biscuits. I'm not getting nothing, but my goodness gracious.
So moving on, lads, we've got a big game coming up at the weekend against Motherwell away at Fir Park. And you heard the manager there talking about what away form and what kind of what the team might look like and so forth. So Jussie Bear, have you got any thoughts on how we might prepare and line up for that game on Saturday?
Well, one thing I'd say for Motherwell is their pitch is slightly better than I remember it over the last few years. So that's a good thing because that might enable us to play a little bit more. But one thing the manager said there that I strongly agree with is our away form under him has been really good. I know there's been a few matches, particularly at the start of his tenure, where we had to drag it out a bit and it wasn't perhaps the most exciting Jaffa. But we've kind of built from there, haven't we? And we've gone to the Sheep, we've gone to Hibs and Hearts, and we've had really good away performances. And I think that's something that we can be proud of. I know we won really late against Aberdeen, but the character was there. But then we've taken it on against the Edinburgh clubs and really progressed. And I know we've got the biggest test still to come in going to Parkhead and obviously at Hampden as well. But over the piece, we've got to be really pleased with that general league form, because it is league form that is competitive, and we're going to run out of time probably this season, Jaffa. But going into next season, he's not done much wrong in terms of league performances and league form. So Motherwell, hammer throwers extraordinaire. It will be Elbow United, and we're just going to have to hang tough, because first 15, 20 minutes, they're going to be in our faces and it's going to be a physical affair. Could that be the kind of match that you might want to start Alfredo? I'm not sure. Cholak's looked particularly good the last few games. But it's nice to have the options, because you haven't had too many options at too many times this season. So good to have a few different players to choose from. I suspect he'll start Cholak, because it's what's been working recently. You can always bring Fred on. But once you get past those first 15, 20 minutes, we start zipping the ball about and doing what we're capable of, we will do well and we will beat them. The only way we're going to cause problems, Jaffa, is if we allow that first 15 minutes to become the norm of the match and fall into a really sluggish level of performance, which we haven't really seen under this manager.
No, you're right. Just the away form, especially at places like Hearts and Hibs in recent weeks, and even up at Aberdeen, has been really impressive, to be perfectly honest with you. And the manager there, Bridge, said that the backbone of all of that is clean sheets. And I know you as a former defender, you probably clean sheets is what it's all about, isn't it?
Oh yes, and it depends on the competition you're playing in, of course, because cup games, throw up all sorts of idiosyncrasies in football, as we all know, having played in them. But many a time, some really good long-running battles with a goalkeeper. You know, it's your ball. You go and get that. You know, I was a captain of the team, and a big mouth. You know, but really and truly, I love my goalkeeper to be right in the position and telling me what to do. You know, don't stand there like an idiot. Tell me what's happening about you, and I'll shout to you. That kind of thing. And we called it. We got through, cracked a few good, won a lot of cups, particularly in South Africa. And I was down there playing for PE City, and it's good football, and some lovely guys you're playing with. But you have to be on your game, and your mind's got to be right as well. Otherwise, you're not going to win. And that's what it's like. Obviously, a lot tougher in professional football. That's what it's like. You've got to have it, have the psychology in the head to be able to do the business.
Do you think, Juicy, do you think there's a possibility that he might play 3 at the back on Saturday?
Oh, interesting. Who would your 3 at the back be, my friend? Would you be going with Goldson, Suter, and Davis? Would that be your 3?
Well, there's a possibility that Borna, who's I believe his wife is expecting a child, and I believe he might not be available, and that was my reason for that question, and push Tav up into midfield.
I would be inclined to say no, because you're right. Borna is going to be on leave this weekend. I think more than likely, so. Probably it's the opportunity really to bring Devine and Yilmaz back in and give maybe Devine the starting berth or Yilmaz the starting berth and give him some minutes before bringing Devine on later, or the other way around. And again, we've got those left back options, haven't we? Now that everyone's getting close to being back in that position, which we've not seen for a long time. And I'd love to have Yilmaz getting a few more minutes, mate. Whether or not it's the right match, who knows? But every away team in the SPFL is physical. It's not just Motherwell. So, you can't just sit on them forever worrying about players getting hurt. I'd be more inclined to start with the back 4.
Yourself, Bridge, do you think there's any possibility of that might happen on Saturday? I don't think so, because you're up against one of the better strikers in the league, believe it or not. That Dutchman, Van Zien, is it? Van Zien, his name is?
Van Veen.
He's their top scorer, and he is a good player. There's no doubts about it. And if he gets himself switched on and add in the fact that we could switch off, and if he only get 3, we only get 3 at the back, that could be difficult as well for us. So, by the way, may I say congratulations on saying 3. My favourite formation is 3-5-2, and I really do hope the Rangers are building up to be able to play 3-5-2 at Ibrox, because that's all we should ever be playing, is 3-5-2. We shouldn't be playing with 4 at the back. We should be able to cope with everything that comes through the middle or over the top. We've not got the skills up to now, but seriously, I would definitely stick with the 4. I agree with Juicy. Definitely 4 at the back there, and it might be you might find that they bring in Big Suter to play on the right and push Tav up just out of the way, and Big Suter can just move in, because he's no bad big lumpy a guy, and nobody's going to bump him about, So somewhere along around there, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be they're closer to the same teams, and probably Yilmaz at left back.
So a straight swap for Borna with Yilmaz in the back 4.
I would think so.
And what about the middle of the park, Jussie? What do you think that might look like? Do you think he would possibly play Cantwell and Tillman in the same midfield?
Possibly, because as long as you've got Raskin in there as the creative and the holding player, I think that's fine. I would have no issue in that at all. Whether or not you've got to tweak the formation at all, I'm not too sure. But we've got these abundant, as I've said before, abundance of number 10-esque players, and I'd love to see Hadji get a start at some point, but he's been using him quite sparingly. But I think you can have a justifiable argument to start Cantwell and Tillman. Look, Cantwell's been playing really well last few games, and I'd like to say his fitness is probably up there to where the manager would want it to be now. He's playing the full 90 in most games. He's got those qualities. You can see, why he did well when he was in the Prem for that season. Tillman, obviously, he's only just come back after missing a couple of games, hasn't he? So, he might not start him. He might bring him on. We weren't too happy with him bringing Lundstrom straight back in after being a month off to be in a cup final. So sometimes you've just got to be a bit cautious when you bring someone back, But Tillman, he's a luxury player as well, isn't he? And he's done well for us. Not always consistently, but I still would be happy for us to sign him, Jaffa.
Mm-hmm. I think Tillman certainly is one of the fans. I believe a lot of the fans would like that to happen, Juicy. And again, the only reading what all of us read the reports, the numbers. I don't know what they are. I don't think anybody knows what they are. How much it would cost to get Malik Tillman in the door. But certainly the guys are. He's a fantastic footballer. There's no two ways about it. He is a wonderful player to watch. Bridge. I know the few games that we've seen him, the early part of his Rangers career, he does look a real turn, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, it's one of the problems that Tillman has is that sometimes when he's playing in the outfield, he ends up too far back, and it's fine being back there for free kicks and corners or something like that, but he ends up in the box and can cause himself trouble and the other defenders trouble, gets caught in the ball, things like that, because he's no striding it. You need to be able to give Tillman a wee bit of room to let him move. His first 4-5 yards are absolutely essential for him to be free. Otherwise, he can get caught very easily. He's brilliant and he gets himself into certain positions and he's really good. But he's got the ball and he's in control. We need to give the ball to him at a point where he can get control of it, and then you'll see the real Tillman and how good he can be. I think he's a fantastic player. What I would like to ask you guys, and I don't know, is there any hint of injury on him? Is there any fear if he came on and be injured, or is he carrying an injury? That's the question I ask you guys.
Well, I know he's been out for the last few games since the Partick Thistle game, Bridge. I think he's been out. He took a knock in that, and then I believe he played in the cup game, the cup final. Obviously, and he didn't look fit, and we haven't seen him since. But I haven't heard any more updates on him. I'm not sure if there's been any further news today as to whether he's on his way back or not. Just I don't know if you've heard anything.
No, I haven't, my friend. But you're right about the cup final. He'd clearly been rushed back for that in the hope that he would be able to, perform, and he really wasn't, there for it, which was a shame because we know how good he can be. But it's a lot of pressure on a player, particularly one that we're very enamoured with, who we know there's a bit of a price tag attached to as well. But it's almost a bit unfair sometimes, isn't it? And likewise, the Lundstrom situation as well. I know he's not been the most popular player this season, which is like the complete opposite to how everyone was with him last season. Just shows you how fickle we can be as fans sometimes. But bringing Lundstrom back into that final after being out for a month was a difficult decision for us to sort of get round in our heads in terms of thinking, has the manager really made the right call here? And of course, if you don't win the match, you get criticised, and it's difficult. But Tillman and Lundstrom in that game, particularly for Tillman, he wasn't right for it, dude, and that's unfortunate. He's missed the last few games. I'm sure he can do the business at Motherwell. It's just been the story of our season, though, guys, hasn't it? With players picking up little niggly injuries, and then some of them you don't see for 4 months. So hopefully that's not going to be Tillman. Hopefully we can see him very soon.
If it were me, sorry, Jack.
On you go, Bridge.
I was just going to say, if it were me, insofar as a midfield concerned, I would retain Tip, I suppose his name, The boy was just came for him. Played with Norwich. Oh my God!
Cantwell.
Cantwell. Thank you. Cantwell and Raspin. Is it Raston or something like that? So Raskin. I played A2 most assuredly, and either Lundstrom or Ryan Jack in the middle with him. I think it's a toss up between Ryan Jack and Lundstrom for the third man in the midfield. I'm plumping towards Ryan Jack because Ryan Jack's had a fantastic few games, and he's the one that's going to have a good bit of form on him. So it might take Lundstrom a wee bit longer to get back up to speed. I think Ryan Jack's in fine form at the moment.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Lance, if it's okay with yourselves. If you get yourselves on mute, we're going to hear the second part of our manager's interview from the presser this afternoon.
Malik Tillman, will he be back for this one?
Malik Tillman trained today, yep. So I'm delighted that he's back within the group. So yeah, he trained well this morning, so he's available for selection, yeah.
What's Borna's situation?
Borna's wife's obviously due to give birth. It's her first child, so she's running a couple of days late, but obviously then he goes away on international duty, so we're running tight on that one. But Ridvan's fit and available to go, young Adam Devine. And you may see a change of formation where we play with somebody else out there as well.
Michael, sorry, Michael, sorry, I was going to ask on Namdi Offerbor. He had some comments on Sunday evening. Obviously, it's a really difficult situation. The fans haven't really known what's going on. He said he's had 2 operations and that mismanagement would become clear to the support. That's obviously raised a lot of questions amongst the fan base. Can you maybe clarify what's going on there?
Yeah, listen, it's a really personal matter, that one. Obviously, Namdi's a boy that we signed originally from Bournemouth, and I was here in and around the scouting of signing Namdi. He was a player that we was quite excited about. He then went to Wickham and had the problem after doing the medical with Rangers. The problem appeared after that. And then since he's come to Rangers, it's been difficult. He's never been able to train with a group. He's never been able to play with a group. He's been away and seen the best cardiologists we could find. He's seen 2 different. We're now supporting him to see a 3rd opinion as well. It's fair to say that those opinions have not always been perfect. So he's managed to get back into light training. But our advice as a club from the specialist is just light training at this moment in time that me, you, anybody could do. And nothing more than that. So that's where we're at. Namdi's a boy that I'm close to and I really feel for his situation. He's a young man that's had his whole life turned upside down in the last 2 years, and he's finding it really difficult, obviously, with the sort of the feedback that he's been getting. But he's away to see a 3rd specialist now, and the club's supporting him on that. The club's been fantastic in their support for him the whole way through the 2 years. It's just a really difficult situation, and I'm certainly not an expert on it. I'm just trying to support the young boy through what you can imagine is a really, really difficult period for him.
Appreciate that. So just to clarify, his comments weren't against the club?
I haven't spoke to him about that since the weekend. So when Namdi's here and he's able to work, he's here and working. There's periods when he's away from here doing his gym program as well. You can imagine that. Moving up from the south to Glasgow and then not having a daily programme playing football, he's not been able to breathe as a football player. So we don't ask him to come in here every single day if he's not working. He's away now seeing a specialist. He's been away and seen the best people possible. He's been away and seen the specialist that dealt with Daley Brind and Christian Eriksen as well. So there's everything I feel we could have done as a football club we've done. It's just really frustrating for Namdi that he can't do as much as he would like, but that's us acting on the advice that we're given, and sometimes that's difficult.
Sorry, Steve, you said all the mistreatments of the last 2 years will come out. Are you confident he's not referring to the club there and it's medical advice?
I don't see how he can be commenting on the club.
Can I just ask, just quickly, there was a report this morning that the club have signed off on a new contract for Scott Arfield, and you have spoken to the board about that. I need to ask you, sorry, is there any truth in it?
Listen, there's no truth in any player being offered or signed off on any new contract. We haven't moved anywhere on Sunday. Scott Arfield's a player that I've got a lot of time for, a man that I've got a hell of a lot of time for. He gives a lot round here, but that's not true.
Can I get your take on potentially there's going to be a new fifth tier going to be introduced? We'll have 4 Premiership clubs that will have B teams in it, along with 3 from the Lower League, 3 from the High League. What's your take on that?
Listen, there's a huge opinion on this, for and against, and I get that in football. My own personal opinion, without being the manager of Rangers, is my personal opinion. It happens in Portugal, it happens in Holland, it happens in Germany. I think Italy now with Juventus have got it as well, and I think it would be good for the development of young Scottish players. That's my personal opinion. It will divide opinion, of course, but most countries outside England have it, and there's a reason why they have it. So I think we need to start looking at some models that in other countries that we feel can help and help our young players. I think the Rangers, if I speak now about our club, as the manager of our club, do I think our young players have benefited from a stronger or a bigger games programme? Yes. Do I think the level is helping them play for Rangers? Possibly not. Other than playing against men and for 3 points and having a regular games programme, it hasn't always helped. And in having players coming back from injury but not being able to play them in those games, i.e. Ridvan, John Suter, Yanis Hadji, that's not always helped either. So it's a mixed bag. It's not ideal both ways. Certainly before, the old reserve league that these boys were playing in wasn't fit for purpose, in my opinion. So we have to, in this country, find a way that we think helps our young players develop. It could be that you'd say to me, well, Rangers can send players out on loan to different teams in the league, but it's whether them teams are playing in the style and that's developing the players to play for Rangers. There's an argument for, an argument against. But I think we need to look at some of the other countries that are doing that and ask the questions why. And there's enough countries doing it and it being successful, whether that's Germany, Portugal, Holland, as I say, Italy now with Juventus B team are also in the pyramid as well.
And just go back to Namdi, is it something you're going to speak to him about to see clarity what he meant by these comments?
Yeah, listen, we're speaking every day, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it's important that it's a private matter. So now all of a sudden the questions go out, and I have to be, I have to be very careful in terms of our answering, because obviously it's Namdi's future that's at stake, and I don't want to answer in a positive or negative. All I can say is that he's getting the best help possible, and the club's helped him, enabled him to do that. The clubs continue to support Namdi, and he's been out for 2 years. It's difficult for the young man, and I try to give him the support like I did when I sat in front of him and was about to sign him and he was coming into Rangers to play. This wasn't the story that any of us wanted. This is not the reality any of us wanted. But at this moment in time, the less said about his personal and his medical situation, I think the better for Namdi.
You can also just get a response to Mark Haley's comments that the pressure is really going to increase when if Celtic get a win in the next league game.
Yeah, listen, the pressure on me is to win every single game. It's what I signed up for as well. So, when you're having the rough days, you remember you knew all about this when you signed up for it. It's a game we're looking forward to because we underperformed in the last one. We should have probably won the one before that. The games have there's not been a big gap in terms of quality or the scoreline, which there probably was earlier in the season. So we've shown that we can now consistently win against most of the teams in the league and go on a strong run. It's important with 3 games coming up in a big derby out of the last 11, 12 games of the season that we try to win more than we lose, and we're all focused on that. But before that, there's a lot of football to be played, and I haven't got a magic ball now that tells me who's going to be fit and available, so I'll deal with that game when it comes around. But I agree with Mark, it's fine, it's par for the course. It's what you guys would say as well, so it's probably what I would say, so there's no issue.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Welcome back, everybody. Just say the manager alluded there in the early part of the press conference that there would be a possibility of a change in formation for Saturday's game. What's your thoughts on the possibility of any changes?
might not necessarily be a back three, as we were talking about earlier. It'd be interesting to see what does happen on those wing back positions, because he did imply that there could be someone else playing there. So I do think it will be a back four still. Just a question of who starts. So quite intrigued about that. I wouldn't mind seeing Suter start either. I think we've got to remember now that we've got to use these league games as an opportunity to rejuvenate a few players' careers at Rangers and get them into a stride, because matches are still important. I don't want anyone listening to think that I'm thinking these are just friendly matches. They're certainly not. But we've got an opportunity now to get some more players back into the fold that haven't been for a while. So I'd be quite happy to see Suter, Yilmaz starting this match. Otherwise, the careers might not be for long here, because you've got to make an impression now you're fit, and we need to see that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the formation could be, there's a whole multitude of options here, Bridge. It could be two up front, for example. It could be a 4-4-2. There's a variety of options available, isn't there?
Yeah, of course. I think personally, my feeling is he's going to have four at the back. He's got the chance to, if everything goes okay with Borna and his missus has a baby, and chances are Borna isn't going to be there. So simple as far as that. He'll not be there anyway. So it's a choice between Yilmaz and Devine. And it wouldn't surprise me if he plays Devine first half and Yilmaz a second, or vice versa. I don't see Rangers changing the back to defence, not at away games. I don't see that, but I could see them coming in with a 4-1-2-3 or a 4-1-2-2, that kind of thing. I can see that kind of thing coming up. But it'd be real, to me, it's crucial. 3 points are absolutely crucial. There's no good coming through everything that we've done to go to Fir Park and lose. So whomever he puts out must be absolutely good for us, good for the manager, and he must have every confidence in them, because we need to win. In my opinion, we need to win.
Oh, that's for sure. And I think, Juicy, in recent weeks, I think we've seen, the value. We've also seen the good, the bad, and the ugly with Fashion Sakala as well. But how much he brings to the team in those wide areas, and I think the manager will probably stick with that kind of formation, whether he's on the left or whether he's on the right, because he certainly gives us that impetus up front, doesn't he?
Oh yes, he does, and I love, as I've always said, the unpredictability of Fashion Sakala. He doesn't even know what he's going to do next, and that means that he is unpredictable. He's certainly not the world's greatest finisher. Otherwise, he'd probably been snapped up by a club that maybe would be able to pay him bigger bucks in one of the top 5 leagues. But that doesn't mean that he hasn't got a lot of quality, because he certainly has. He's scored a lot of goals in the time that he's played. He's only in the last month or two got more minutes, hasn't he? But he was scoring plenty of goals when called upon. So there's definitely a finisher there. And again, he's still not consistently been played in his best position, which is on the left side, his preferred position. So, for someone who's making the best of a position that's not really his dominant side, I think he's done quite well, Jaffa. I like him. It's not just a likeable chap off the pitch. He's bringing that to the matches as well.
He has a great attitude to football, I believe, and I think, for example, that goal he scored last week, Juicy, against Hibs, where he took the ball and he basically turned the defender and the goalkeeper inside out by going the opposite way from the way he thought he was going to go. They thought he was going to go left and he went right and he hit it with his left peg. And I happen to agree with you. I think out on the left is his best position, Bridge. That's where he seems to appear to do most damage from when he's on the left-hand side.
It seems to be, I don't know whether he's left-footed or right-footed, to be honest. However, I do think he likes to have a good shot with his left foot. a good dig, put it that way. Look, the guy he's an enigma in his own right, and he can do things that only he knows what he's doing. And there's times I'm sure he doesn't know what he's doing, but somehow or other it comes over really, really well. Look, he could also miss some absolute 100% sitters. He can miss them, particularly running through against a goalkeeper. But anybody can do that when you're running through. He falls over and trips himself up. And all that nonsense, is there. But he's a wee star. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He's a wee star. I don't know how far he can go in the game. What's expected of him at Rangers is down to the manager. But he's certainly got a lot of talent. And if he can gather the talent, and Rangers as a football club and team will be able to fight, if they can find him anywhere near the box, give him a wee 2-yard charge at the ball, and let's see what he can do, because he is definitely fantastic, and he can run like the wind as well if he wants to, So anywhere between the halfway line and the penalty box, he's a pleasure to have in your team.
He just lacks that. He's got some brilliant ability in his in his armoury, but he just lacks a bit of composure. And if he could learn composure, I don't know how you teach composure on the training field. I think you can, but if he could just learn a bit of composure, Juicy, I think there would be scouts from all over the world looking at him, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yes, absolutely, sir. And I think it's something that it's a natural level of talent, isn't it, when it comes to composure? But I think with regular appearances and being more involved in the chances being created, at least he's getting that opportunity to improve it. And he certainly wasn't getting that opportunity to improve that while he was sitting on the bench, or not even in the squad under Gio. So certainly going through the best part of his Rangers career right now, isn't he? So he's got the best opportunity to improve on the stat side, and as long as he's making contributions, I'm not expecting him to have to score every game, but he's been getting an assist. He's he got a couple of assists and a goal the other week. It was enough to get him in the FIFA Team of the Week. So that, as a gamer, that was me very happy, because he's awesome in the game. But it's not virtual reality that we're interested in here. It's real life, and that consistency that he had at Hibs last week, performances from our team can sometimes be a bit inconsistent. So you don't expect the same player to do it every week, week in, week out. But as long as he's contributing and playing to a good level that is sustainable, then that's important, because last thing I want is to be talking about him on the injury list, Jaffa. We just keep it consistent. Don't do anything too crazy, and just keep creating those chances. Because again, Kent goes and Alfredo goes. Obviously, we're going to be looking at more 4 players, but I want him to be a staple in this squad now. I really do.
Can I come in on that quickly? It's just to say that, as far as I'm concerned with Sakala, when Sakala's on form, he hardly ever loses the ball. He'll end up having a shot, and it goes way over the bar, or goes into the net, or goes for a throw-in. It doesn't really matter. He very rarely actually loses the ball. When he's slightly off, he ends up losing possession. And when he loses possession, everybody else is chasing him up. So everybody's up there, all the midfield are way up next to the box. And before you know it, we're under pressure because he's made a wee mistake and lost the ball. And that's what we want him to learn, not to lose the ball, not in these type of positions. Don't care if he kicks it out, hits it out of the bar. I don't care what he does with it, as long as he doesn't lose the ball and lose possession, because that puts pressure on the rest of the team.
Another player, guys, that's come back to what looks like really good form and fitness levels is Ryan Jack Bridge. I know you mentioned him just a minute or so ago there. And I think Ryan Jack is a tremendous footballer. I really do. I always did think. I think he's got better as he's got a little bit older, and he reads the game really, really well. And I think Ryan Jack's got a big part to play between now and the end of the season. If we can just keep those fitness levels where he is. I mean, I watched him last week, and he was absolutely brilliant. He was so efficient in the match, Bridge.
Well, look, you know, when Ryan Jack came to Rangers, I thought within a season he's going to be our captain, because he was a captain at Aberdeen who had played really, really well. Considering the monies that they had, I thought he played really, really well. One of the best players in Scotland. And he came to us, and within a short space of time, he was starting to pick up injuries. And then I think he had a damaged knee. And of course, other players knew he had a damaged knee, and probably got great happiness just battering into him. And I think he started there, and he came up and down and up and down and up and down. And there was a couple of wee times, in my opinion, he was roughly treated by even our own team, our own club, I mean. But really and truly, what you said there, and look what he's done over the last few months. He's came on and he's been really into it. He's got himself, he's shaken off a lot of the injuries, and he's came back, and he's like a new player. And my God, he's reading the game, just as you said there. He's reading the game. It's outstanding, and what an outstanding competitor. It's only a couple of weeks ago he was getting two weeks in a row. He was man of the match. Brilliant performances. That's what we want for Ryan Jack.
Jesse, what's your thoughts on Ryan Jack and his current fitness levels?
Well, last few matches we've seen a resurgence, haven't we? We've seen that vintage Jack, as Bridgeman was saying there, and I think it's really good to see, because you know that when he's on it, he's been a very, very solid midfielder, defensive midfielder. Chances, being created from the back, progressing the play, and physical as well. And it's good to see. I don't know how long it will last. We've always known that he has to be managed. Some people were, upset that he didn't start the other day. I wasn't surprised at all. You rarely see him start 3 or 4 matches in a row. So, you've got to manage the guy. We don't want to see him getting cropped again. And you've got to be cautious of that. But, he's a big game player. He always has been. And, as my main man, Doogie, in the group chat always says, he's a massive fan of Jack. And it's great to be seeing this little resurgence. And hopefully it's not just a little resurgence. Hopefully it's sustainable. And he can give us some more decisions to the manager in the middle of the park there. I don't know what the future holds, Jaffa. I don't know how long he's going to be with us for. Like so many others, there's not too many years left in him, but we'll see what happens.
Well, lads, if you want to get yourselves on mute, I think we're going to have a wee tune. So get back to you shortly.
They say a state that I must hate. Well, I fought the IRA. Now they say that I must pay. Well, they say the state that I must hate. So build my gallows, build that I might see before I die the anthem glens, the hills of County Down, and see again the lights of well, they say the state that I must hate. Well, I fought the that rebel band to free my native land. Now they say this day that I must leave. So build my gallows, build them high, that I might see before I die. The anthem blares, the hills of County Down, and see again the lights of the state that I must make. Well, I fought those evil men, and I do it all again for the sake the state that I must make. So build my gallows, build them high, that I might see before I die. The anthem blares, the hills of County Down, and see again the lights of
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Welcome back. Just see, we were chatting there just before the tune about Ryan Jack, and obviously there's a variety of players that are due. Their contracts are coming up at the end of the season. Is Ryan Jack one of those players that you would give a new contract to?
Well, if he maintains the consistency that we're seeing at the moment, absolutely, I would give him another 1 year. I think that's you couldn't not if someone's producing that level of performance. There's still a dozen or so matches left of the season, so he's got that opportunity to maintain that. I think we're going to need him for the really big old firm games as well. So rest him where you need to. I'm certainly not expecting him to play the 12. Like I said, he has to be managed. Some fans don't like that because they want the best players to be able to play every game, but fortunately that's just not possible with everyone. But I'm desperate to see him do well, and for however long he does stay with us, bring that level, Jaffa, because options wise in the middle, in terms of the muscle man, he's probably the best option in the middle at the moment. I know things can change, I know form can change, but Lundstrom's not been the guy this season. Kamara's certainly been inconsistent. So you've got to go with Jack. So why not offer him that deal if he maintains it?
Hello, that big Al.
No, it's Bob Jitter.
Oh, Bob Ger, how are you? It's Jaffa.
Oh,
I'm all right. How
Is
you
that
doing?
Bob Ger for Alloa?
It sure is. Is that you, Brits?
Wonderful, thanks.
Brilliant to hear from you, Bob Ger. What's on your mind tonight?
I was just I was on one of the podcasts this morning, and they're saying that this woman from Florida is going to withdraw her bid for the club. And I'm not going to get any finances because I'm not very well clued on it, boys. But from what I read into it, that's a good thing. The old Doogie Park and company are going to hang on to the club and wait until a better investment comes for to take it over, because apparently she's not got the capital for to take the club over and run it properly. I don't know. I don't care. Does anyone heard anything about it or know anything about it?
Just say, Bear, have you heard the news about this lady Kyle Fox today?
well, I think there's been a lot of hot air, Bob Ger, and
Aye.
until you see some real open discussion by the club, which aren't always very forthcoming in conversations about such things, it's quite hard to really get the gist of what is actually happening. And she can say a lot of nice things, and she has done at times, which is great, because you've got to say the right things if you're part of a consortium that's prospectively buying the club. You're certainly not going to say anything too negative. But for me, it's all just chitter chatter until something actually happens. You know, I'm sure we'd all love to have a massive money owner. A lot of fans would at a lot of clubs, but sometimes you've seen it work and sometimes you haven't. We've obviously gone through some bad times as well, so I don't blame the club for being really, really cautious in not wanting to give out too much info. So I think on this kind of thing, Bob Ger, I just want to give the club the benefit of the doubt, and if it's not happening and she's pulling out, so be it. I'm not going to speak ill of a person. I don't really know her too much. You know, if she's only leading a group of others, I kind of feel positive from the point of view that it's good that looking at it from that point of view, but it's just chitter chatter until something substantial happens, you know.
Aye.
Bridgeman,
Aye.
what did you hear? Sorry, Bob Ger, I would just let you come back in. Apologies.
The ball, but a lot of people think that investment in a club means automatic success, and it doesn't. It doesn't. It just, we're a club. We're well steeped in it. What happened to your club with financial mismanagement, and we don't want. I think the board are looking to say, well, nah, this is not quite right. Something not quite right about it, and we didn't want it to happen again. So I think we should maybe, I'm not going to say forget about it, but wait till another day, wait to see what's happening, and move on. I think that's the best idea for it, because apparently Rangers are financially secure, and that's the way you want to stay. You don't want to take a chance on somebody coming in, because investors want money back. They want it back big time. So I think we're better just to maybe, I don't say pass on it, but wait till another day. So the situation seems a bit clearer on it.
Bridgeman, do you have any other thoughts on that news that broke this morning from them? I believe it was BBC Scotland that got the story, surprisingly.
Well, it's the BBC Scotland and a few other places will always get any news about Rangers first. That's all they live on. It's the only thing that makes them money. I think that the lady Fox, I can't remember her first name. What was her first name again? Kyle, right? Okay, so I obviously I don't. I know she's called Fox. I know that I believe the deal was something on an 80 million. First of all, initial £80 million deal to take over Rangers, but apparently she's only allegedly, to my knowledge, she's only ever come up with 17 million total. And the board have told whomever, no, they're not having that. So if she came up with 80 million, I dare say they would be interested. But I heard another wee bit of information was that her supposedly backers somewhere along the line are Duff and Phelps. We know what happened to us under Duff and Phelps or with Duff and Phelps. So I don't want, but I personally wouldn't like to see Duff and Phelps anywhere near the club or anybody associated with them. I think we were burned in 2012, so I don't want anything like that, please. So
I think she, just to correct you a wee bit there, Bridget, she used to, I believe she used to work for Duff and Phelps. That was a part of her background in London. Right. She's a capital investor, as I understand it, and operates now out in Miami in Florida. But I don't know, Bob Jarrett, just like with yourself, you've read, I'm quite happy with the outcome, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think we should close that book over. I think there's probably an element of truth in it, and I think there's probably a lot of hot wind in it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Absolutely.
I just don't see the current people in charge of our club. I'm not, listen, everything's got a price, of course it has, but I don't think they're at any stage at all where they need to exit our club or have a strategy to exit it. Not when they're still talking about investing in it, Bob Ger. So they've got us back to where we are now, and I'm delighted about that.
That's absolutely right, spot on. Because we were talking about all the wrangling we went through with Ashley and Duff and Phelps and all these other people, and we didn't want that repeated. The club is turning the corner. It's still turning the corner, let's be honest. And we'll go to where we are. And if the club's financially secure, it's got to stay there. We've had our fingers burnt with all that carry on before, and we're not going to sell for selling's sake. No danger. We did that before, we're not going to do it again. So, onwards and upwards.
Absolutely, Bob Ger. So, moving forward, Bob Ger, as you know, we've got a big game at the weekend against Motherwell at Fir Park. We were chatting there about Ryan Jack. Ryan Jack's he's 31 years old now, Bob Ger. He's not, he's got a few years left in him yet if he can stay fit. Is he the kind of guy you would like to see remain at the club after next season? Would you give him another contract?
I think it's stay fit, aye. And then again, that's up to the club's fitness people for to sort that out with Ryan Jack. I think Ryan Jack's an excellent player, like we all do. Sure, we all do. He's a really good player, Ryan Jack, and he's a big asset to your midfield. And if we can keep him fit, yeah, I'd be happy for him to get another year anyway. So yes, I'd be quite happy to keep Ryan Jack. What's the general consensus for does all the boys think the same?
Bridgeman, as I was saying here, Ryan's 31 and his next birthday. At the moment, he's 32. Would you give Ryan Jack a year contract?
Certainly, his form says he deserves it. We need some continuity on it. If the manager's going to pick him, we'll get 3 massive games against Celtic over the rest of the season, including big games against others as well. If we can help us through the first 2 Celtic games, they're going to prove it, isn't it? It's going to prove he's got whatever we need. I'm not saying he's going to be 100% for every minute of every game. So I think definitely. I think what I've seen in the last few games of him has been a massive difference in the first half of the season. I think Ryan Jack should probably get a new, maybe an extension, a year's extension, a 2-year extension. I don't know how to work it. Because I like the boy Arfield. I always liked Arfield. I think he'll get one as well.
It's a good point. Juicy Bear, going on to Scott Arfield as well. What's your thoughts on his current contract situation and come the close season?
If there's ever an example of a player who has the mindset of Rangers Football Club, it's Scotty Arfield. The guy just knows how to get down and dirty. And I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't come on and get involved in the cup final, because he's that player that you need, and I think he's been excellent as a super sub at times. So I'd be quite pleased to see him have another year. I'm not going to get nostalgic here and say every player that you come up with tonight, I'm going to say extend them, because there's plenty that I don't think should be extended. That doesn't mean that I'm not pleased for what they've done for our club, but he falls into that category of someone who perhaps doesn't expect to be playing every match, but he has still got that ability to be an impact player, and that's a good thing. So yes, give him a shot.
Bob, what's your thoughts on Scott Arfield? Again, another player, I know we're going through a list here, but another player who's out of contract at the close season. Would you keep him at Rangers next year?
Scott Arfield's been a great player for our club. Nobody tries harder. Nobody's got the club more at heart than him. And he knows, and I think Ryan Jack knows as well, to mention him, that they know they're only going to be squad players next year, because we know that the manager in the summer, it's been well documented, that he's going to overturn the squad, he's going to bring people in. And these guys are not yet accepted that this is going to be squad players. But they're good squad players. And yeah, I would extend Scotty Arfield's contract, maybe for a year.
I think the great thing about Scotty is his general fitness is he's very rarely ever out injured for long periods, is he? He's never touched wood. I don't want to give him the kiss of death here, but he's never had a bad injury, Scott Arfield. He goes out for a couple of weeks, if he gets a stretch or he comes back in, his base level of fitness is always good. I think he's a healthy lad. He lives healthily. I agree. Personally, I would give Scott Arfield, and I also think he adds another dimension. Both him and Ryan Jack, I think they bring a lot to the dressing room. They know the club, they're Rangers supporters, so and I think sometimes I've been of the opinion I don't think we've had enough of them in the dressing room, Bob G, and that's something I think we've lacked this year in particular.
No, this is what you want. I mean, I'm an extremist. I want to go to that park. He'd be 11 blue bloods to fight for the cause, but sadly the game's not like that anymore. But yeah, you're wanting people there that have got the club at heart, like Scott Arfield and like Ryan Jack. Younger guys that have got the club at heart. I will go out and fight for every inch, fight for every blade of grass, fight for every ball. That's what we want. That's what every club desires, I suppose. But, well, the situation with your club, that's exactly what I want. And we didn't have enough of that in that cup final. So these people that are only half-hearted about it, well, I'll see you later. We're wanting guys that are going to fight for the cause. Put that jersey on and be a Rangers player. There's no bigger honour.
I can also say that I think Scott Arfield makes himself available for the blind run, late into the box, and he's there, and he scores a number of goals for us and creates chances and causes chaos because the defenders don't see him coming, that kind of thing, He's probably one of the few players within the Ibrox squad that can actually go into the box, get into a position to score goals. The rest of them seem to get caught out. It's got to be seen, should I say. But Scotty Arfield seems to be in there, with the round about the penalty spot, between his penalty spot and the 6-yard box, and he gets himself really good positions to score, and if not, create a wee chance for someone else. I think he'll be a super player,
He just had to hack back to Aberdeen recently there, but he did it twice in 2 minutes at Aberdeen. Aye, brilliant.
He's good. I mean, the last game he scored the goal. Who was expecting him to be there? Superb.
I mean, even the goal he scored last weekend, Bridge, against Raith Rovers, the third goal. I mean, that kills the game.
Absolutely.
The game's done at that point. He's got that knack about him.
Like, oh no! I don't know if you've spoken about Ryan Kent in that manner, or are you keeping that until later?
No. That was my next wee thing. I was just going to ask that next question of you. Whilst we're on the subject of talking about contracts and new contracts, there's obviously two others that. I know we touched on Alfredo earlier with the Ryan Kent situation. Bob Gera, I don't know what your thoughts are. It'd be good to hear what your opinion is of Ryan Kent. Is he somebody you would like to see us keep next year beyond the summer?
Ability, yes. Attitude, no. That's it. Cut and dried. I said the other night, the same as I said about Alfredo Morelos. I think when was I on last Tuesday? And I said, look, if their head's not here, their heart's not here, they're not used to you being here. You're better away somewhere else. And it doesn't matter how good you are, how many goals you score, how much skill you've got. If you've not got the club at heart, it's real moving on. It's as simple as that. We'll get people in that will. People that will have the club at heart, that will try 100%. And Ryan Kent has had a poor season for me. There you go. He's had a poor season. He's a talented boy, and I'd love to see him up to what his game was 18 months ago. But sadly, I can't. I'm seeing on one of the podcasts here or on YouTube about Leeds United and Burnley. Well, how much truth in this, I don't know. I don't know. But If he doesn't want to be here and wants to go to pastures and do it well, to me, he's away. That's a shame. He's a very talented boy.
Judge man?
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favourites, if not the favourite. I've given him my man of the match for a couple of games there, in relative to Cantwell as well. I think between him and Cantwell, the two best players at Ibrox at the moment. And Kent, by far and away, the most skillful at the moment at Ibrox. But as Bob just says, it's a bit difficult to, because it looks as if he's not trying, but he really is trying. And I think one of the problems with Ryan Kent, this is a problem with the club and the team. Ryan Kent gets booted, pulled, shoved, battered, you name it, and he looks up to the referee and he gets nothing. I want the Rangers players to be running into the guy that's kicking him and pushing him down on the deck out of the way. That's what I want. I want every time that he gets booted, stop the game. Get the game stopped. No matter what happens, get the game stopped. And they'll start to looking up, wake up, what's going on to him. Because these people are just taking pot shots at him. And it happened to Alfredo in the first 2 years he was here, particularly in the Scottish League, and particularly against them. They were winding him up every time. Him and the Aberdeen players as well. I remember all these games and every single thing, and I'm wondering, what's the matter with your players? You watch some of these continental players in the team, and they're right over and they're shoving and fighting, and everybody fighting against the other team. This is our player. You're not getting putting him about. That kind of, I love that. Just get right in there and get it sorted. I'm starting to rant, so I'm going to shut up.
No, you're right, bud.
Juicy, what's your opinion on Ryan Kent staying beyond the summer with us?
He frustrates me as much as Alfredo does, for sometimes different reasons, though. I do think we've seen a little bit more out of him since Beale has been in charge. It did revitalise him a bit for a period of time. And we saw that in some of his performances. We started to see more goals and assists again, although still not very many goals. But it certainly went from nothing to a little bit on the goal front. I was like, oh, that's pleasing. But for a forward player at Rangers, you need to see more goal scored and contributions on a regular basis if you're going to cut it at this club. And we've seen in his career at Rangers, he has certainly done that, but it has tapered off a little bit. And like Alfredo, this is why I was drawing comparisons, he's had that longevity at the club as well, hasn't he? So we can't say that he hasn't given a lot of his time to this club. Some players come and go before you can blink. He's been here and he's been in good times and bad times. So he's certainly been a good servant. He hasn't always been as consistent as we'd want Jaffa. So again, if he does go in the summer, he goes with my wishes because he's been a good servant to this club. I just think now, moving on, and the same with Alfredo, they're going to play. They need to show a level of consistency that makes them worthy of that if they're going to stay, because no one is bigger than this club.
For me, it's the money it comes down to, Juicy, and how much these guys are expecting to get. In the case of Alfredo and Ryan Kent, what their salaries, their expectations are, and I mean, none of us are really privy to that, and neither should we be, I guess. That's private information, but stuff leaks out and stuff gets out, and if the numbers that Alfredo's on and was asking for are true, and even Ryan as well would be looking for, I have to be honest and say I think we can do better reinvesting. I think we could, in the case of Alfredo, I think you could get 3 or 4 players for what you're getting back out of Alfredo, and I think a lot of it will come down to that, I'm afraid, Bob J. That will come down to money, and as it always does, doesn't it?
Well, it's simple, eh? I mean, I think the two of them are looking to end up in this Premiership. Well, Alfredo, I mean, you've heard about the Seville thing. Apparently he says it's not true, we don't know. But the two of them I think they're looking to try and head into this Premiership. Even the lower regions of the Premiership could pay 2-3 times the money we can. So yeah, basically it's money. Because working football is a short career. When you can where you are, you're 30, 31, a la Ryan Jack. And you say to yourself, well, I've got to try, these guys have got families, I've got to try and move on. and maybe, sign for a club that will give me twice the wages. I might not get a game every week, but at least I've got a big contract, I've got the wages, and it's going to see me all right the rest of my career. I think that's the way they're looking. I've done all I can for Rangers. Maybe that's what they're thinking. So, as I say, if their head's not there and their heart's not there, they're better moving on. But it is basically, doing the money. Yeah.
I mean, Ryan's been with us for 5 years, Bob Ger. It is a long time in modern football nowadays. 5 years at one club is a long time.
I think Ryan Jack kens that he's not going to get a game in the Premier League. I think Alfie and Ryan Kent think that they are. I think the people are going to come in for them and sign them. Or dare I say, at a higher level in Scottish football, pay more money. The Spanish Premier League, the Premier League in England. So, yeah, I mean, it's all down to money. These guys are trying to further their career. And, if you think about it, boys, you're working men yourselves, you can't blame them. You can't blame them. Like Juicy says, they've been two good servants. But we're Rangers and we've got games to play, we've got results to get, and we need them to perform now. No next year when they're in the summer when they're negotiating contracts with anybody else. We need them now because we're paying their wages now. The future will be what it will be.
Okay, Sarah,
Yeah.
I think as well, we in the case of Alfredo, Bob Ger, I don't believe that the agency in this Seville talk, as far as we're led to believe from the manager's press conference earlier on today, said that there was nothing in it. I mean, we know that agents play all these naughty games in the background. They talk things up and they drop things into conversations. They're talking to journalists. Seville are in for them. I've watched a couple of Spanish teams. Real Betis, who played Manchester United earlier tonight. I watched their game last week. I watched Real Madrid last night. We all know that the Spanish league is incredibly strong. There's some brilliant teams in that. I for the life of me, I don't think Seville would buy Alfredo Morelos. I don't think he would get a game for them. That's my honest opinion.
Absolutely, no. Apparently they're struggling in the Spanish league at the moment, Seville.
Relegation battle, that's correct, yeah. And that's another thing, what league are they going to be in? Are they going to be in the Spanish League too? Anyway, that'll unravel itself in due course, I'm sure. We're Rangers, as you quite rightly say, Bob Ger. We've got to deal with the here and the now, and we've got to, we've still got league matches to play. We need to go out and win the games. Saturday's as big a game as any. The right attitude and getting the right result is what it's all about. And we need to use these guys if they're still on the payroll. So you're as well getting minutes out of them if Alfredo's in the right mind and the manager feels he's right. But I agree with what Juicy said earlier on. I think it'll be Cholak up front. I don't know what your own thoughts are. Would you play Cholak or would you play Morelos up front on Saturday?
I'd play Cholak. The lad he's been doing the business, isn't he? So yeah, why not? Cholak didn't deserve to be dropped. All right, he didn't score against Ray Rovers, but then again, that was, let's be honest, that was a second gear job, boys. That's what the road. We've got bigger fish to fry, bigger games to play, I should say. But I think it would be pretty unfair for to drop Cholak, for to let Alfredo Morelos have the attitude he's got at the moment. I'm not picking on him, I'm only staying a fight. If you want to be here, Alfie, get your ARSE in gear, son.
Can I come in just for a minute on that wee subject? Is that okay? Can I come in?
Go for it, Bridge. Go for it.
Just to say, you mentioned that it was mentioned earlier that the manager said there could be a change of formation. Yeah, I'm wondering because now we're talking about Cholak and Morelos. Could it be that those two are going to be up front on their own?
Potentially, that's what he alluded to.
Always played just the one centre, if you follow what I mean.
Juicy, what would your thoughts? How would that formation pan out if it was the two of them up front? How would that look?
I think we would all like to see at some point a two-striker formation to see how it is, to see how it works in an actual proper competitive match. And of course, those two would be the obvious two. I'd like to see it. We've seen strange things in matches, like in the cup final, where you take one of them off. You think you're losing the match. We need to go for it. Let's put two up front and see what happens. We haven't really seen it. I think they've only been on the park together on a couple of occasions, so it hasn't really been tested out. Certainly not from the start of the match. So I'd like to see that. Perhaps the best opportunity to have done it would have been, against Partick or Rafe in the cup. But I understand that is a big match, though. So even if you're playing against lower division, it's perhaps not a match where you can really experiment. But we've got that opportunity, as I said earlier, Jaffa, to try some things out now in these remaining league games, and I'd be all for that.
If you cast your mind back, lads, to the formation that was played against Hibs a week or so ago, was that not a moderately new formation that he played, where the front three were interlinking and changing all the time? Because Cholak, if you remember, was outright against Hibs. Juicy, if you remember correctly, Cholak played out on the right-hand side, and Sakala was on the left, and Kent was through in the middle, if you remember.
Some of the more interesting forward performances we've seen under Beale has been when that front three essentially just keeps switching positions, keeps the opposition guessing, makes it unpredictable, makes a player like Fashion even more unpredictable if he's starting. I welcome that. I don't know if I don't know. What's your opinion on Cholak? Do you think he's more of a front man? I mean, do you really want to see him coming in from the wing positions? I think you've got to put him either as the sole guy or as part of a two. I don't really think he's a wing type player. In the same way that Fashion isn't really a striker, he's far better as a winger. So you've got to play to people's strengths. But I do like that movement that we did see against Hibs, and that was refreshing to see, because we really were on it in that game from an attacking point of view.
I mean, the first goal, Bridge, that we scored last Wednesday against Hibs, the ball that Sakala got down the left and whipped it in, Cholak ran right across the front of the defender, and he cutely just guided the ball into the bottom corner. I mean, Cholak playing through the middle as a centre forward, that goal probably doesn't happen, does it?
Well, probably not to a certain extent. But that was a classic goal. That was a wonderful goal by Rangers. But to get Sakala on the right, everyone just seemed to weave into this magic weaving that was going on, and all of a sudden Rangers were there, and Cholak running from the left, from our right to left, and a wonderful goal. But you're right. I mean, Cholak was more out to the right for most of the night, and it worked, because it gave somebody was watching him, so it gave space for other people. But we Fashion Sakala, the great pass to Fashion Sakala for Kent, I think it was, and you don't get many of these passes. Just wonderful the way it worked out. Superb.
Bob Ger, the manager's alluding that there's going to be a change of formation, or he's alluded to, there might be a change in the wind. He did say after that game last week that was something they'd been working on in training. It's always difficult. He always likes to throw these wee nuggets into the press conferences to keep you all guessing, doesn't it? And then he goes out and plays a 4-3-3.
Aye. Well, yeah, I've not heard his conference. I'll look at it later on. Aye, that against the Hibs, as Brad says, it worked superbly. We've all seen it. It worked great. And if it was going to work on, what we're looking for is consistency of performance like that. And the interchange of Cholak and wee Fashion and Ryan Kent that night was absolutely brilliant. And that's how it worked. Sometimes Kent was through the middle, sometimes Sakala was on the left, and Cholak was on the right. That was the second goal you're talking about, by the way, when Sakala cut it back. That was the one that put it in front. That was the second goal.
That was the second, so it was.
That's right, because Tav equalised with the penalty. But it worked a treat that night. I said, I said, this 4-3-3 is working. And I said, and for to get somebody like Scotty Arfield and the game that Ryan Jack had that night was absolutely superb, feeding off the back four. So yeah, to me, that was Rangers' best performance of the season. And to me, that's the formation we should go against Motherwell on Saturday, because it's a similar game, eh? And if it's going to work, and it's going to work consistently, well, so be it. That's the way you go.
Bob, Jerry, you're 100% correct. That was our best 90-minute performance of the season. That's not in doubt. We absolutely we annihilated them. And I think the whole Cholak, the position that he took up in the right hand side of the front three, I think it surprised them. I don't think they knew how to. I mean, clearly they didn't know how to deal with it. Hibs, when we got into our rhythm and we started stroking the ball about it. We Cantwell on the right hand side of midfield and Raskin on the left, and Jack, as you say, doing the sitting role. And Raskin and Cantwell really pushed up. If you remember, the press was brilliant that night. Yeah, we won the ball back, in jig time. That Juicy, that would probably look like the most likely formation for me against Motherwell on Saturday. Don't know what your own thoughts are.
I'd be happy with that, my friend. As long as I'm seeing some Cantwell and Raskin action in the middle, that will appease any concerns I think most of the fans would have. Fashion's playing too well not to start. Kent's never going to be dropped. And Cholak's, looking like he's getting back on that form. And people criticise him a bit sometimes, but you've got to remember, in the first few matches back, he was still finding his fitness, really. He's been out for quite a while. So, we know how good the guy is when he's fully on it. We also know that we've got to get him the service, and that's important. But we saw against Hibs, he was doing more things, wasn't he, that we've not seen before. He was getting more involved in the match. He was coming back and collecting the ball. And like you said, the movement was good as well. So it's exciting. It's just making me think. This not having a match midweek, I don't like it, mate. I need more matches, because it always feels like it's a long time to the weekend if you don't get a midweek.
On yourself, Jesse.
Do you know what Cholak was doing, Bridgeman, last week against Hibs? He was shouting for the ball, and he was telling them all when he didn't get the ball, wasn't he?
It was. By the way, it just said a few minutes ago, it was a tremendous performance by ours, absolutely tremendous, because they scored their goal with a good goal, and so we can't say anything about it, an own goal for the centre half, but what the hell, a brilliant cross into the box. He just couldn't clear it properly. For me, we at woke us up. We played them off the park after that. Completely played them off the park, and it was 3, but it could have been as many as you like. Truth be told, as many as you like. Second half, brilliant.
It was a tremendous performance. We love beating the Hibs. Love beating the Hibs. Love beating Motherwell as well, Bridge.
Revenge with Motherwell is always better. You know what I mean? Revenge for the 3-1 beating they gave us.
There's always a bit of spice in it, isn't there? Listen,
Motherwell call it a 6-1. They beat Rangers 6-1. Because over 2 games, of course, Mm-hmm. So when Sorry, Paul.
It's all right. I was just going to say.
Gotta let it go. Let it go. It was years ago. Let it go.
I can't let it go. I still think of what happened to when I was 16 and 17. No, I can't let them go. Football's football. Never forget. Never forget. Oh, I'm ranting. You got me ranting again. Sorry, guys.
Listen, this is a full show. I'm just going to. On you go, Bob. Yeah, on you go.
That was the day Mushney decided to be Lennox Lewis. Huh?
I loved it. Kick them in the ass and then punch them in the mouth. Absolutely brilliant.
Big belly. Who can forget him from that?
The boy you battered, he's still playing.
Humphreys.
Oh,
Yes.
A big, tall, skinny guy.
Aye, Humphrey. I think that Chris Humphreys. I think.
No, wasn't it Humphreys? What was his name now? No, I'll come back to me. Sorry, pal. I'll go and find him.
He went down to Leeds United. Him.
I think you're right there.
Leeds United. He went down with a same jaw anyway. That's for certain. But
Justy Bear, I was just sorry, Bob, just to cut across you. Apologies. Justy Bear, I don't know if you saw today, we've apparently been looking at a new player, another Swansea player. Did you see that one?
Yes, I did. The interest in Swansea players seems to continue. Maybe we could get the pair of them as part of a summer deal. I don't know whether or not we're still interested in Whittaker as well. I think there was some interest. I'd like to think that if the manager is interested in him, we'll still pursue that, and maybe we could look at the pair of them as a deal. I don't like to get too excited about just things we read about. The manager's quite open in the press conferences, so normally if there's something in it, he kind of hints to it, doesn't he? So, but this is good. This is good, Jaffa, because it's still quite a while before the transfer window opens.
Well,
so
he said today, didn't he, that scouting doesn't stop, and they are scouting players, and by all accounts, our scouts were taken in. I think the lad's name is Joe Pirro. He's a Dutch centre forward. Came through at PSV Eindhoven. He's only 23 years old, 6'1". That'll suit Bridge.
The irony of bringing in a Dutch player now that we don't have a Dutch management team won't be lost on a lot of people.
Did you see his name was Pirlo?
It sounds a bit like that, Bridge. It's Pirro. P-I-R-O.
Don't get excited, Bridge.
One of the best players
Don't
ever.
get excited.
Pirlo's wee brother.
By the way, tell Bob Jer, it was Lee Irwin, the name of the guy.
Lee Irwin.
Bang
on, pal. Lee Irwin. Yeah.
One thing, Jaffa, that we need to do though, and this is why I'm pleased we're talking about potential signings now, is we do need to, as a club, I think, move a little bit more quickly in terms of doing transfer business, because we have been playing catch up the last couple of seasons in terms of how quickly we bring players into the club, and bringing them in later in a transfer window, whether that is in January or towards the end of the summer, is of course less advantageous if you're making that move later, because it takes longer to blood them into the squad. You've probably run out of friendly matches by that point. You're into competitive game time, and even this season, we're bringing Raskin and Campbell late into that window, so it just takes longer to get into the play. And I just want to be identifying players sooner, bringing them in, and obviously European qualifying matches come around very, very quickly, don't they? Such a massive part of our season.
Bob, these transfers nowadays, the little bit that I know about it, and I've heard and read, they're so complex. It's just not a case of the way it used to be done, where Big Jock would phone up a player's father on a Friday, and he would be down at Ibrox on the Saturday or the Sunday morning, and he's signing the papers in the Monday morning. It just doesn't work like that anymore. The legals that are involved in it, and the intricacies and the rights and all the goings on that goes on in the background, as Juicy said, these things probably take months to iron out. So if they are looking at players or even getting deals done, I think that's got to be a good thing, surely.
Well, I mean, what you've got to say to yourself, though, the quickness of the media now with this internet, you don't know what to believe and what not to believe. I mean, you go on this YouTube every morning, and Rangers are connected with somebody different every single day, and you don't know what to believe. You say, "Well, I wouldn't mind that guy playing for us. He looks decent," but you don't know if it's how much element of truth's in it. Like, you just don't know, and it's all due to agents have got a lot to do with everything, okay? And of course, money rears its ugly head. You're a footballer and you're wanting the best deal you can get. You want the best financial. They walk in, the Rangers have got a wage ceiling, and they're still operating the wage ceiling there, or they're excelling it for other people, I don't know. I'm like yourself, I don't know, it's too complex getting, where you went along to a boy's house and said, I'm for Rangers and I'm for Manchester United, sit down and talk with the old man and see what's best for you. It's way beyond that now. Way beyond that now. And it's for the ordinary chap like me and like the rest of us that supports the club, it's just too complex to understand. If the boy signs, he signs. If he doesn't, he doesn't. You don't know. Whereas years ago, you did. We Willie Henderson. They went along to call the crew, spoke to his old man says, you're signing for Rangers, and that was the end of it. So
they were the days, eh?
Aye. That's exactly what happened. Manchester United wanted him, and the old man says, no, you're going along the road. But it's not like that now, is it? So I wonder who Rangers will be connected with tomorrow morning.
Can I put a name in that? I'll put my name in the hat there. Not my name, but a name. It's, I tell you, I was watching the Man City game the other night there, and I went to see Haaland's name, and I look at him, that big centre forward there is. What a display he put on. What a display. Oh my God, what a display. Fabulous. Great game. Do you think he'll come? Only joking, of course, guys. Only joking.
Maybe we're a big blonde between the sheets,
Listen, it is a phone-in show, so if any Rangers supporters out there want to phone in and speak to the Bridgeman or Bob Ger or Juicy, feel free now. So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
I don't think we could afford his big toe, never mind his left leg.
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right, Pat. Absolutely. Wow, but what a player. What a player. He was. 5 goals in the European Champions League. My God. Shut up, Alec. Go away.
Daniel
also put it into perspective, though, Bridge. We rattled RB Leipzig last year as well.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. But I thought they were a far superior team. But my goodness gracious, one man gave them an offer to 5 goals against them. They must be sick.
He's a fine player as old Haaland.
Oh wow, goodness! You know he's got such a long stride. I think he's at 6 feet 4, 6 feet 5. Huge stride. And apparently it takes 3 or 4 strides just to get in his swing, you know. And he's away. Wow.
But it's going back to the fellow that apparently Rangers were linked with. Whether it be him or others, we're saying there, Bob Ger's a fair point. We're always linked with these players, and we're Rangers at the end of the day. We're a big club. I agree with what Juicy Bear was alluding to. I think they quicker because we're taking too long to get players in the door. Bob Ger, no disrespect, but we've got to talk. Across the city, they had 3 players in the door on the 2nd of January.
Aye, yeah. I mean, they're commenting there that the last January transfer window we had was a bit of a disaster, a la Aaron Ramsey. And Dalio. Aye. Any transfers we get in now has got to be negotiated absolutely correctly. And we're all impatient. We're all wanting to see talented boys coming in the door to do a great job for the club, like Alfredo and Ryan Kent have done. And we're wanting to see this again. But it's got to be done absolutely spot on. We can't take on any half-timers anymore. Maybe that's what's taking the time. I don't know. As I just said, it's all too complex now. And Rangers have got a financial ceiling, and they can only go with their financial guidelines like every other club. And if a boy's wanting XXX, Rangers have got to turn around and say, I'm sorry, son, unfortunately we can't pay that, and you'll go elsewhere. That's what you're up against. That's the sort of a place that we're in. If a boy wants to
can
come
I just
and
say,
aye,
sorry.
Guy, carry on.
No, I was just going to say we must, as a club, we must keep our eye on the ball. We've got if everything goes well for us, we're going to be in the Champions League, possibly playoffs or qualifications at the beginning of the next season. We need to be ready for it. We can't go in there with sort of half-cocked. We want to have a run in the Champions League, and we want players, experienced players. We've got a couple of experienced players who are in a battle with the club at the moment for am I leaving, am I no? And the club need to get as quickly as possible get an answer to that. It gives them the chance to go out in the market and see what's happening.
Well, we weren't quite ready for the last Champions League campaign, boys. We need to be in better fettle for this one. If we make it to the Champions League, that is.
Oh, Bob Gerrard, I mean that's a task that's it's no mean feat. That no matter who you get in those qualifying rounds of the Champions League, which if that's where we end up, we could. It's going to be. You'll still be playing. Look at the teams that we played last year. The Belgian champions Union, who are incidentally beating Union Berlin tonight. As we speak at this moment in time.
Right.
They're not. We beat them 3-0 at Ibrox, and a lot of people were going Union, who we've never heard of them, but they'd won the Belgium league. They were a decent outfit, and then we went on and played PSV, and arguably again, a couple of brilliant games. The game 2-2 game at Ibrox and the 1-0 game away from home. Tom Lawrence was brilliant that night. He hit the crossbar. It was a great, but that's what you're up against to get to the Champions League.
That's only getting there, eh?
That's only getting there, and then look what happened when we got there. As you say, could be argued we were ill prepared. Giuseppe, it's that was a campaign to forget, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. In terms of the group stages, I mean the highlight of the season was qualifying because Union St. Gallice. It was very difficult, and I think some people in the media and maybe the fan base were a little bit disrespectful of Union. We just thought we would walk all over them. But then there was an overreaction to the way we lost over there. And then we played an excellent home leg. And then we had a very attritional match against Eindhoven, where we managed just to sort of scrape that result to get through over the two legs. But we were worth it. We certainly didn't play poorly, but we did have to ride a little bit of luck. Eindhoven, but we were worth it, and then that was the highlight. But you're right; it shows you how difficult it is to qualify. And when you look at Union Berlin, they've been absolutely destroyed tonight by Union St. Gallice. So, and Union Berlin have been applauded for their form in the Bundesliga this season. So it shows you how difficult any club can be, but unfortunately for us, when we made the group stages, there was a little bit of fear in the team, and I think some of the players have alluded to that, haven't they? After losing that first match against Ajax, because that was the match that we were trying to get something from, because we knew the other two fixtures would be very difficult. And of course, I love playing in the Europa League, but the pressure is on that we have to match our rivals, and we all want to be in the Champions League, of course, but I'd be more than happy to qualify and try and drop into that Europa past Christmas would be excellent for us. I know it didn't happen this season, guys, but we've missed that European action post Christmas because we were getting very used to it, weren't we, in the Europa League? But we graduated, but we've learned. It's still a big step, isn't it, to do it in the Champions group stages? But we deserve another shot at it, guys.
Well, it's the monetary it brings Bridge, into the club, the Champions League and the Europa League. But the Europa League is certainly a lot less than what the Champions League riches are. And if we want to keep on spending, and trying to bring in better players into the club, then the Champions League's where the action is, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got to get there. And obviously got to get the position in the league. Hopefully the number one position in the league, and you're in all the way through. But if we have to go in through the qualification side of things, then we have to do it. So that's going to be probably 2 games rapid. So we've got to have a team that are able to play football and are ready to play football, and they're not going to falter in the qualification, because we managed to get through last year, but that's never going to be guaranteed all the time. And if we have to go and change a number of players, it's going to be tough. You're going to need people like Goldson to stand up and step up, and his partner Davies. They're going to have some job to do in the European League stuff. It's really truly going to be that difficult. And he was fantastic for us all through Europe for a number of seasons. He needs to do it again. I don't know whether he can, but he needs to do it.
Yeah, Bob Gill, that's the glory, isn't it, of getting to the Champions League? That's where the money is. But obviously, there's a lot of work to do before you get there. A lot of work.
That's a hell of a lot of work to organise yourself for a tournament as difficult as the Champions League, the biggest club tournament in world football. And yeah, you're wanting Glasgow Rangers to be there, but there was a lot of disillusionment. You're talking about money there. There was a lot of disillusionment that when you qualify for the Champions League, that automatically you were getting 40 million quid. That was propaganda put up with people for along the road there. No, you weren't. You weren't getting that. You were getting it if you qualified for the group and maybe went a bit further on to the quarters. That's when the big money like 40, 45, 50 million kicked in. No, in the groups. We actually made, I don't know if a lot of you know this, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but we actually made more money last year getting to that final than we did for qualifying for the Champions League.
Quite correct, Bob. You're 100% right.
We did. Because there was a lot of disillusionment with money. Everybody thinks, we're filthy rich again. We've qualified for the Champions League. Somebody's going to write a cheque for 40, 45 million quid plus interest. No, it didn't work out that way. You get the real money if you qualify out the group. And qualifying out the group something else, because you've seen the group we were in. And again, we were on a park when Liverpool had 531 million quid on the park against us. What chance have we got against? You're talking there, Bridge, about people like Haaland. What chance have you got? But you've just got to, you've just got to do your best. Organise yourself and try and do your best.
I tell you, Bob Gill.
I don't want to see my club football team playing the way they did in the second half against Liverpool. We were one up against. We went one up against them. Unbelievable. But that could have been two.
Oh, listen, lads. I know you'll be quite amazed to hear this, but we're coming to that time of the show. And what a great show it's been tonight, Bob Gill. Always a pleasure to have you on. It's so brilliant to hear you on again on Rangers Radio. I hope you're feeling a lot better now, pal.
Yeah. I'm feeling a lot better.
That's great. You sound magic. Your dulcet tones are back. I bet you could use a wee number or two. We'll maybe get you to do that one night.
Well, you can get me to do that one night anywhere you want. Aye, no problem.
No problem. Bob Gill, listen, thanks for a wee last word from yourself. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Well, the show's great, boys, as it always is. I've had many a great night sitting here for the Doug Line statement. Me with that bloody telly off, just talking to the guys on Route 4. I love Rangers. We all love Rangers. As the Bridge says, follow the. It's as simple as that. And great to hear from you all, and keep following on. What time's the kick-off on Saturday, by the way? 3 o'clock, is it?
No, I think it's a 12:15 or 12:30. I think it's an early one.
Right, it's an early one. That's fine.
Bob Gill, don't be a stranger. Please call in again to the boys. Thanks for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
You'll get me 2 or 3 times a week. We are a people. Good night, boys.
Thanks, Bob. Bob. Just Mayor, over to yourself. Last words from yourself.
Well, it's been fantastic. Brilliant to hear Bob Joe again, as you said, one of the stalwarts of this show. So very, very pleased to hear him back. I heard him the other week. It was lovely then, and it was lovely now. And Jaffa, fantastic job hosting the show, and brilliant. And with my main man alongside me, Mr. Bridge, as well. So thank you both. And we'll be back very, very soon once again.
Thanks, Juicy. Over to yourself, Bridge, for the last word.
Well, what can I say? What a fantastic show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. A great host. Jaffa. Great host, pal. Well done. And of course, Juicy Bear, as sweet as a nut. He slinked straight into here, late as usual, but slinked straight in. You didn't even know he was there. And all of a sudden, the words of wisdom come out. Unbelievable. And of course, our good friend Old School Blue in the background, doing all the techie stuff. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Can I just say to all the Rangers fans all over the world, and particularly Rangers fans on here on Rangers Radio, next game, biggest game of the season, Motherwell over there at Firth Park. Come on, Rangers, into their bodies. Come on. Keep it going for the Rangers, everybody, because the Rangers need us.
Well, thanks to Bridge and to Juicy, and thanks a lot to Bob Jaffa phoning. It is a real pleasure to have him on the show, and thanks to the technical boys in the background. This has been Rangers Radio. Good night.
He'll score them here, he'll score them there. His cry is loud, now he's a bear. It will make or break him, so he's gonna do his best. We are dedicated followers of fashion, and when he does his scoring round all the ground in Scottish town, eagerly pursuing title 56. We are dedicated followers of fashion. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. We think that he's a striker to be looked at when he scores a hat-trick in the next Old Firm game. We are dedicated followers of fashion. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. There's one thing that he loves, and that's his score goals. 1 week he'll score 1, the next week he'll score 2. We are dedicated followers of fashion. He'll score them here, he'll score them there, at Parkhead, anywhere. Everywhere the Glasgow Rangers have been marked on, each one a dedicated follower of fashion. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. His world is built on scoring goals and trophies. This goal scoring individual always tries his best. We are dedicated followers of fashion. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. Oh yes we are. Oh yes he is. There's one thing that he loves, and that's his scored goal. When he scores a hat-trick in the next Old Firm game, we are dedicated followers of fashion. We are dedicated followers of fashion. We are dedicated followers of fashion.